Fox Urgent, I'm Harris Faulkner. Israel under fire and fighting back. And we are entering day 7 of that offensive. It's 2 o'clock in the morning or so there right now. And for the first time in this conflict, Israel has deployed military troops into Gaza. Naval commanders say they went in to destroy a rocket launching site operated by the terror group Hamas. Israeli tanks and soldiers are now along the border. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says he will use any means necessary to stop Hamas from bombing the Jewish people.
I just want your viewers to imagine the United States being bombarded, not in one city or 2 cities, but in every city between New York and Colorado. Maybe 20% of the United States would be exempt from this. 80% of your citizens would have to be in bomb shelters or ready to go into bomb shelters within a minute to a minute and a half max.
John Huddy live with the news tonight from Gaza City. John?
Well, Harris, earlier this evening, and this was the first time we saw this, helicopter gunships, Apache helicopters, started firing offshore on intended, presumably, Hamas targets. We have not seen that before, Harris. We've seen the airstrikes, we've seen the gunfire, cannon fire from offshore naval vessels, and then last night we saw the small arms fire as Israeli commandos, special operations team, stormed the shore here, the coastline in Gaza City, in northern Gaza, and hit a Hamas target, a compound, and most likely what we're understanding is an area they've been launching rockets. We've seen that in and around our location here for the past few days. The firefight was intense. It started with small arm fire. It then got ratcheted up to the incoming support fire from those naval vessels. We saw the tracers. At one point, we thought we were caught in the crossfire as tracers and bullets started going over us, and then the pounding of airstrikes, which continued throughout the night. So earlier this evening, we had the helicopter gunships, the Apaches firing on targets, the shots going over our heads. But I want to make something clear. It's been very quiet since then. That was about 3.5 hours ago. Since then, there's an eerie quiet. We saw that last night. Then a couple hours later, everything intensified. There was that firefight. But for now, it's been quiet. You don't hear dogs barking on the street. You don't hear people out celebrating after watching the World Cup game. Okay, everything is not only quiet but dark. The city's lights are off. Shutters are up. The businesses have been closed all day. So it's almost as if you're anticipating something. I've seen those helicopters out at sea, most likely sticking by those naval vessels. I've even seen 2 jets circling overhead. But so far, nothing. And there's kind of an eerie anticipation that something's brewing, Harris.
You know, it was interesting to hear the Prime Minister Netanyahu describing what it would be like if this were happening, say, in our country and so many cities under attack. You mentioned people watching the World Cup and trying to go on about their daily lives, and now this eerie quiet. I'm curious, are people headed to shelters as well as their own homes? What's it like there for them taking cover?
Well, people are staying inside, but then more than 6,000 people have sought refuge in shelters because the Israeli military has been warning people since yesterday to evacuate their homes in these areas in the northern part of Gaza here and Gaza City. We've seen that fighting just about half a mile away. We saw that firefight, and then inland to the east we've seen a lot of explosions. Again, it's been quiet for now, but over the past 24 hours more than 6,000 people, Harris, have sought refuge in these shelters, basically schools that have been set up as shelters. We visited one earlier today. We saw families, children. They gathered up everything they could, basically everything they could carry, their clothing, food, valuable items, personal items, and ran as fast as they could, got to these shelters as quick as they could. We saw a lot of people without shoes on. We saw a lot of kids without shoes on because that's how fast they got to these shelters. Meanwhile, kids are playing in the schoolyard as if it's a normal day, as if it's a normal day of school, but it was anything but normal. We're hearing explosions in the distance as children are playing. And obviously, this is not a normal situation as we now go into day 7, as you mentioned, of the fighting, Harris.
Yeah, and you point out something that's so important to know, and we could see it in the video. The Israeli government, the military there, giving the Palestinian people, their families, an opportunity to get out, go to shelters, whatever they need to do before they start to hit these rocket launch and other targets that they're going to go after, these rocket launch sites. John Huddy, if something breaks in this next hour or beyond, we will come to you right away because we know just in the last 24 hours how active it has been. Thank you very much. Now let's go to the